Hey, Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen leading the movement for movement and bringing you another edition of Autism Fitness Tuesday training where I take a practice, a practicality, a standard, a structure, an exercise, a programming component that we use in autism fitness programming and bring it to you so that you can use it in your fitness and adapted PE programs for your autism and neurodivergent athletes of any age or ability level. And before I get started, please definitely subscribe and share this with someone for whom you might make a difference in their day-to-day programming, whether they're a professional, parent, or family member. In this Tuesday training, I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to tell you 3 things that in my 23-something-ish years of being in the neuroadaptive fitness space, 3 things that I've never heard from anybody who has implemented programming, who has worked with Autism Fitness, who Autism Fitness has worked with or for, but 3 things that I realized I've never heard or read from anybody. Now, the first is our athletes or students are getting too fit. I've never heard that from anybody. I've never heard, they're getting too strong. I've never heard that, they're getting too fast, they're getting too powerful. There's really no such thing as too fit. The only thing that has ever come up is there such a thing as too much exercise? And really when we're talking about, we can generalize this to any population, but overtraining or having too much exercise is a very difficult thing to achieve. Now, we have to separate that from fatigue or technical breakdown of the movement, but in my large amount of experience with the autism, with the neurodivergent population, with respect to life skills athletes, with sport-specific athletes, especially on the much, much higher end of performance, we're talking about competitive or elite level. Could there be an overtraining or a period or segment of too much training? Yes, it's possible. But when in general we're talking about our life skills athletes, again, those individuals who are not engaged in a competitive sport or have a tendency to be otherwise sedentary, and we are just introducing or we are revamping their fitness or adapted PE programming, and they're getting it once or twice or 3 times a week, the odds of too much training volume, meaning sets and repetitions, is highly, highly unlikely. If the program is for some reason very, very much skewed towards high intensity, which I don't understand why it would be from a practical and usable training standpoint, unless you're having athletes run back and forth over and over and over again in the session, which at that point I question your credentials and methodology, you're really not going to have any overuse issues. So when we're talking about general resistance or strength-based training, and we're talking about aiming for anywhere from 3 to maybe at the high end 6 sets per exercise of maybe 5 to 7, maybe even 8 different exercises total in 2 or 3 sessions throughout the week, then we're not going to approach enough total volume to create a situation in which there is a massive overage or too much exercise. So to encapsulate that, I have never heard our students, our clients, our athletes are getting too fit. right? And again, if we're looking at this over the long term, as far as a life skill in teen years and adult years into geriatric years, there's really no such thing as too fit. We might be getting too compartmentalized in one area, but that is another conversation entirely. Second thing that I have never heard, the exercises are too easy. Right? And this is one of the things that could be a potential misconception when someone first looks at the Autism Fitness curriculum. Why are there, and this is something that I have heard, why are there so few exercises instead of, dozens and dozens? Well, first of all, if you have a choice of dozens and dozens of exercises, guaranteed too much is going to be integrated too soon to have any training effect whatsoever, meaning that your outcomes are going to be diminished, meaning that the skills don't get developed, meaning that we don't actually enhance the strength, stability, motor planning, engagement, confidence, and all of the other great outcomes that generalize to activities of daily living. So if we bring it back to just the exercises that we need to create a sturdy foundation of fitness capabilities, meaning the squat, pressing, pushing, carrying, hinging, picking stuff up off the floor, and then some locomotive activities, getting from point A to point B, carrying. All right. If we're covering all of those major movement patterns, and of course pressing, overhead, push-ups, different pull variations, we have different variations from different positions. Yes, of course, but there's a misconception that, what happens if they're gonna breeze through these? And then coaches or professionals or parents start implementing the program. And they realize quickly that the exercises, even though they seem relatively simple from a strength and motor planning and motor control perspective or perspectives, they can be quite challenging. So I've never had somebody in over 2 decades come back and say, the exercises are easy. The athletes can all do them and we're waiting for the next thing. The other part of that is once an athlete reaches what we call the standard performance of a squat or an overhead press or a push-up or a standing band or cable row, a band pull down, there is always a place to progress from there. In fact, one of the most important components of autism fitness programming in our certification process is learning how to modify each exercise or simplify it and provide support around it, not the other way around because our coach has implemented the program for 3 or 4 or 5 athletes and all of a sudden they can all do it and it's all simple and we need something more. That has never happened, and it doesn't happen because with these foundational exercises, once that athlete is able to independently master full range of motion, motor control, perform the exercise for enough volume, meaning sets and repetitions of that squat or that press or that push-up or that carry, that it leads to a training effect, there is always somewhere to go. We can add a set, we can add more repetitions, we can add weight to it and start loading the movement so that the athlete gets stronger. So the idea that it's going to be too simple or going to be too easy, even though the idea might occur, I've never had somebody come back to me and say, this is all too easy for our athletes. The not other side of that, but what I had mentioned earlier about someone saying, there aren't that many exercises. Well, wait until you start implementing them and then come back and talk to me. And when they come back and talk to me, they say, okay, now I get it. But love to hear that. Love to hear that you get it. The third thing that I never hear is we can't scale it, right? The autism fitness methodology is founded on scalability. Can we take this exercise and can we modify it and make it simpler? Can we take this exercise and progress it and make it more challenging, not for the sake of making it much more difficult, but once an athlete has gotten to the point where those 5-pound dumbbells are no longer challenging, well, yes, we want to move them up to 8-pound dumbbells or maybe 10-pound dumbbells with that overhead press, right? So we want to be consistently scaling where needed each exercise for each athlete. For some athletes, that scalability is going to be on an upward trajectory pretty quickly. So they're going to go to a loaded squat. They're going to go to a hinge pattern. They're going to go to a heavier cable or resistance band. For many autism and neurodivergent athletes, again, not all, but many, especially when we're talking about our untrained life skill athletes, untrained meaning they have never had a comprehensive fitness program before, then we're probably going to seek to modify the majority of their exercises because many individuals on the autism spectrum and with related neurodiversities do have some challenges when it comes to gross motor issues and strength issues and motor planning. So we need to take that into account. And when we have scalability on our side, meaning we're choosing exercises that we can simplify or make more challenging depending on what the athlete is presenting, then we have something that we can utilize with every athlete profile. So if we need to simplify a squat pattern, we can do that. If we need to make it more challenging, we can do that as well. So I have never heard we can't scale this because the whole program is predicated on scalability. All right, so I thought I'd share that with you. I don't know if this has ever come up in your thought process. I don't know if you've been watching 1 or 2 or 10 or 12 of the videos on my channel here, but 3 questions that have never come up, or three statements that I've never heard. The athlete is getting too fit, or our athletes are getting too fit. The exercises are too easy, right? Which usually means that I've never heard it, but I would imagine it would mean that they haven't been implemented or they're not being implemented correctly. And the third is that we can't scale it because everything here is based on scalability. I would love to know what you think about this. Put it in your in the comments below. I'd be curious about some of the things if you're implementing programs already you've been questioned about, and I want to know your questions also. Leave those in the comments below. I'd love to answer those in a future edition of Autism Fitness Tuesday Training. And if you, yes you, are ready to become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro and serve the autism and neurodivergent community in a fitness capacity with a program that is meaningful and effective, well, it's time to become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro. Go on over to autismfitness.com. You can download the course syllabus and you can register and get started and then meet me or one of my master pros for your full day practical that you can attend either virtually or in person. Great options. All right. I'm Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen, leading the movement for movement. Thank you for watching.